Greetings. This is Coach Veronica Marie, and I am here today to help you live a healthier and a happier life. If you are new to this channel, welcome. I am not on YouTube, so I will not be able to see your live comments. I'm streaming from another platform. So if you do want to comment on the recording, and I'll make sure to respond. You can reach me at my website, veronicamarie.com. So let's jump right in. I entitled this video, Spin the Block or Not. And spinning the block in dating means giving a past relationship another try. Um, I have had my own experiences with spinning the block. I've watched others have their experiences, and there's one main issue with it. And the issue is not trying again, right? There's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's trying again with no additional tools, with very little additional understanding, and going back in a pattern. Right. And so I've done a lot of videos on dating and getting to know people. If you are interested in how to do that better, then check out some of those videos. I think it's important to not start off where you left off. That's the first thing. I also think it's important not to start off where you started from in the beginning. Even though you may have this really strong connection with a person from the past, or maybe you feel it's energetic or spiritual, remember that life molds us, changes us. We can change drastically from one day to the next. So it's important to not take for granted that you know this person just because you knew aspects of them back then. And then the truth is, um, without additional understanding, you'll probably just recreate the same cycle. So we're not going to return and connect where we left off, right? Also, do not take for granted that you know the person. So what can you do? One of the things you need to realize is that this really needs to be approached from a very um, new point of view, right? You need to know how to release your assumptions and expectations of this person, because the truth is you don't really know if this is a person that you still want to be with, or maybe you do know that, but you don't know if this is a person that you actually align with. And I have plenty of videos about alignment, soulful communication. Watch those, right? So number one, you need to understand what the problems really were that caused you to break up in the first place. Most people don't understand the problems. Well, you can get some help with that, because most people do not get at the heart of any problem. They stay on the surface of the problem. They argue about the surface of the problem. They have an understanding on the surface level of the problem, and the root of the problem remains. So you spin the block and you just kind of water that which is already there, and it grows again, right? So I get a real idea of what the real problem was, right? And I'm not talking about um, things like, oh, they didn't want me, they didn't choose me, or um, they cheated, or they were inconsiderate. All of that is superficial. And if that is still your understanding, then you're really going to need to get to the bottom of the problem and really learn how to get to know this person. Because I'm telling you right now, from a professional behavioral health standpoint, those are superficial problems. There's a real problem underneath all of that, right? If you broke up and you didn't have additional understanding, if you didn't know the person's heart, if you broke up accusing them, blaming them, villainizing them, and such, I understand you may be sorry, and you might even apologize and not want to do that again, but you need to understand why you did it in the first place, right? And not based upon the other person's actions, but based upon your conditioning. You need to understand why that happened. If they were villainizing you, you need to understand how that affected you. How did that change your world, your desires, your ways of being, if it did at all. And how did that cause you to change your perception of the person? All of these things are important. And usually you need help because the things that caused you to break up are normally triggering situations. And if you don't yet know how to get to the bottom of a trigger and really speak on a soulful level, you're going to have some difficulty. If you're just so happy to be together and you don't want to work out anything from the past, but you still carry the same perceptions, interpretations, assumptions, you still have the same stories, you're in for a repeat. Okay, that's just the truth be told, you're in for a repeat. A lot of people underestimate the amount of discovery and exploration, acknowledgement, and understanding it takes to build a relationship that is trying to renew or be renewed from being broken up, whether being broken up was a few hours, a few days, weeks, years, or whatever. Right. So you need a deep understanding of what has gone on, and you need to be able to talk about it. A lot of people, they don't want to talk about the past, but they still want to be together. They want to say, I've changed and I've dealt with that, and that's the past. No, it's not the past if the understanding was not had during the breakup or after. Okay, it's not the past. It's very much the present, and it deserves to be worked on. A lot of people feel some level of shame and they don't want to discuss their previous actions. It's going to be necessary. And usually, if there's shame involved or not liking of a previous self or calling a previous self names and judging, it means that healing is not complete. Okay. If you are trying to revive a relationship and you notice the person is going into characteristic patterns you've seen before, and you know it because you have the same pattern in you, you recognize it, right? It's not time to spin the block. It's time to see if old things can get resolved, and then you can see if you could spin the block. As you already know, most people don't go this far. Most people don't really even know some of this stuff exists, right? So that's just my short, um, just a short talk on spinning the block, whether to do it or not. I think you really need to get to the bottom of the problems as they existed in the past and get true understanding and true resolution. Not resolution where someone is trying to forget, not resolution where someone is trying to be normal, or not somewhere you don't want something where someone is pressuring the relationship to return back to a previous state. I hear that a lot. I want to get back. Okay. That probably is a sign that spinning the block is not a good idea before things get resolved. Okay. And what are some things you notice when you know it's time not to spin the block? I want to know. Like, what do you notice? What do you see? What lets you know, hey, that's not a good idea? Put that in the comments. And how do you know when it is a good idea? Remember that just because you connected well in the past and that connection still exists on the level, it doesn't mean you align, right? Alignment is different from connection. You can connect to a lot of people and have a very strong connection, right? But that connection may not need to be romantic because you are not aligned for romance, right? Key areas may not fall in alignment, but you may be able to be something else. So also don't get a one track kind of way of thinking when you're trying to spin the block, quote unquote, right? Because the relationship may need to be transitioned into some other kind. That's possible as well, especially if the person is important to you, right? So if you are hanging on to romantic interests, romantic ideas, creating a future from the past, and you're not connecting well in the present, it's a sign you don't need to be spinning the block. You need to be resolving and coming to a point where you can begin anew. All right. And that is it. If you need help, if any of this touched you mentally or emotionally, and you feel like, hey, I would like to talk more about that, you can sign up for a coaching session at veronicamarie.com. I have an ebook out. You can get that. It's called Self Intimacy, A Beginner's Guide to Self Discovery. A lot of things in that book could help you have conversations with your exes. Have those conversations. What stories do you still carry, right? In the book, I guide you through a whole process of emotional alchemy. What if y'all did it together? That's a possibility, you know. So, other than that, y'all have a beautiful day and look out for my new book coming out. It's called The Empowered Empath. Stay tuned, and I'll be back to